Well, she's a no-brainer. She has stunning beauty. She writes all her own songs. She's really the most gifted young female talent around. And so, yeah, it's you just see her and you know that she's an all-timer.
Yeah.
But people in the music industry really don't like Clive Davis, most of them. And his criminality is kind of amazing.
The speaker begins with a very strong and controversial opinion about Clive Davis, claiming that many critics feel little sympathy for him because of the way they believe he treated certain artists. According to the discussion, Alicia Keys' comments add to that conversation by encouraging people to take a closer look at his legacy. The narrator also claims that Clive Davis eventually turned against Whitney Houston when she was no longer willing to follow his expectations. These statements reflect the speaker's views and remain matters of opinion and debate.
Shame, shame, shame. Shame on you. Yeah, because, I know.
The speaker claims that Clive Davis passed away with a fortune estimated at around $850 million, and says that, instead of mourning, some critics reacted by celebrating because of the controversies that surrounded his career. According to the discussion, Clive Davis was a complicated figure in the music industry. On one hand, he had a remarkable ability to discover talented artists and help launch the careers of many legendary performers. On the other hand, the speaker argues that his legacy has been overshadowed by decades of criticism and serious allegations. The narrator repeats claims that Davis benefited financially from artists whose lives ended tragically at a young age. The discussion also mentions long-standing accusations involving the management of artists' finances and other unproven conspiracy theories that have circulated online for years. These allegations remain disputed and have not been established as fact. Despite those controversies, many celebrities continue to praise Clive Davis after his death, honoring his influence on the music industry and recognizing the role he played in shaping countless successful careers. The speaker questions why some public figures remain so loyal to him, mentioning Oprah Winfrey's comments about Whitney Houston's struggles. According to the narrator, Oprah once described an incident involving Whitney and asked those present not to discuss it publicly. The speaker uses this story to suggest that powerful people in the industry often tried to protect Clive Davis and those connected to him. Although these interpretations reflect the narrator's opinion rather than verified facts.
First interview I did with her when we'd gone behind stage and I asked her about her attention, she was clean. But the day she came to my show then to perform in front of the audience, she was not. And she fell off of the stage. And so even though the audience was there and the audience had cameras, I begged them not to put those pictures out because it would ruin her life, and they did not.
The speaker begins by making a controversial statement about Oprah Winfrey, arguing that she should answer questions about other issues instead of praising powerful people in the entertainment industry. According to the narrator, Oprah is another influential figure who has often been surrounded by rumors and speculation. These comments reflect the speaker's personal opinions rather than established facts. The discussion then turns to Alicia Keys and the heartfelt tribute she shared about Clive Davis. In her message, Alicia praised him for believing in her when she was only 18 years old and said he recognized her talent before many others did. She explained that he supported her throughout her career and encouraged her to reach her full potential. Alicia also said that his influence extended far beyond music because he helped many artists achieve their dreams and changed countless lives through his work. According to the speaker, Alicia Keys is one of the artists whose career greatly benefited from Clive Davis's guidance. The narrator claims that Davis did more than simply sign her to a record deal. Instead, he helped shape nearly every part of her public career, including her music, image, branding, and overall direction. The discussion argues that he invested significant time, money, and industry resources into making her one of the biggest stars of her generation. The speaker also suggests that Alicia's career was carefully managed to maintain a clean public image. According to this viewpoint, she avoided major scandals, public feuds, and controversial statements throughout her career. The narrator claims that she rarely commented on disputes within the music industry and generally stayed away from public conflicts. The discussion even mentions rumors surrounding her marriage to Swizz Beatz, suggesting that she chose not to publicly respond to much of the speculation. According to the speaker, This carefully controlled approach worked in Alicia's favor because it allowed her to maintain a respected reputation while continuing to succeed in the industry. The narrator argues that Davis encouraged artists to avoid unnecessary controversy whenever possible, especially if it protected their careers and public image. However, the discussion also claims that not every artist connected to Clive Davis experienced the same outcome. The speaker suggests that some performers struggled after attempting to gain more independence or challenge the system around them. Finally, the narrator references comments made by Cat Williams, who has claimed that when major stars such as Whitney Houston die, powerful people behind the scenes often profit in different ways. These allegations remain unproven and highly disputed, but the speaker includes them as part of the broader conversation about Clive Davis's legacy and influence within the music industry.
In business, nothing is coincidental, or you would be hearing who's losing money. In all of these situations, it's only the artist that's losing. Somebody makes big money. When these rappers get killed, not incidental. Somebody made $100 million and now don't have to talk to that artist or none of their crew, don't have to validate none of their contracts. Now only got to deal with the mama, only got to see her once a year.
The discussion then turns to the financial impact of Whitney Houston's death and the role Clive Davis allegedly played in her career. According to the speaker, Davis benefited greatly from Whitney's success during her lifetime and continued to profit from her music after her passing. The narrator also references an anonymous blind item that claimed the situation surrounding Whitney's career followed a pattern similar to what allegedly happened years earlier with singer Janis Joplin. These claims remain unverified and should be understood as speculation rather than proven facts. The speaker explains that Janis Joplin became one of Clive Davis's earliest major discoveries after he saw her perform with Big Brother and the holding company at the Monterey Pop Festival. Impressed by her powerful voice and energetic stage presence, Davis signed the band to Columbia Records shortly after becoming the label's president. He reportedly believed Janis had the potential to become one of the biggest stars in music and invested heavily in her career. After the success of the album Cheap Thrills, the discussion says Davis encouraged Janis to begin a solo career. She agreed and formed the Cosmic Blues Band, hoping to explore a new musical direction. According to the narrator, this marked the beginning of growing disagreements between the singer and her management. Janis reportedly became frustrated with the constant touring schedule, commercial pressure, and expectations placed on her as a solo artist. The speaker claims she disliked feeling that every part of her image and music was being carefully shaped for commercial success rather than artistic freedom. The discussion also suggests that as Janis became more famous, she gradually lost contact with many of her longtime friends and support system. While she had reportedly experimented with drugs before becoming a major star, the speaker argues that her addiction worsened during this period of intense pressure. According to the story, disagreements between Janis and Clive Davis became more frequent as she tried to make more independent decisions without consulting those managing her career. The narrator then describes the tragic events surrounding Janis Joplin's death while she was recording her album Pearl. Official reports concluded that she died from a heroin overdose combined with alcohol. However, the speaker repeats long-standing conspiracy theories claiming there may have been more to the story. According to the discussion, Janis had recently written letters expressing a desire to slow down, settle into a quieter life, buy a home in California, and build a future with someone she loved. Because of those reported plans, some people questioned whether her death came at a time when she appeared ready to make positive changes in her life. The discussion points out that after Janis passed away, her album Pearl became an enormous commercial success. The speaker claims that ownership of her recordings remained with Columbia Records and later Sony, allowing the companies to continue earning significant revenue from her music for many years. The narrator argues that this has fueled speculation among some people who believe record labels can sometimes profit more from an artist's legacy after their death than during their lifetime. The speaker even quotes a common conspiracy theory suggesting that famous performers may become more valuable after they die. These claims remain speculative and have never been proven. The conversation then returns to Whitney Houston, drawing comparisons between her career and Janis Joplin's. According to the narrator, Clive Davis was deeply impressed after seeing Whitney perform and quickly recognized her extraordinary talent. He played a major role in launching her career, helping shape her debut album and guiding many important business decisions. Whitney's first album became a massive success and established her as one of the biggest singers in the world. The speaker also discusses Whitney's record-breaking contract with Arista Records, reportedly worth around $100 million. At the time, it was celebrated as one of the largest recording agreements in music history, with Whitney receiving a substantial advance payment. According to the narrator, the deal appeared to demonstrate the close professional relationship between Whitney and Clive Davis. However, the discussion argues that such contracts also carried enormous financial pressure. The speaker explains that large advance payments are typically recoupable, meaning artists must earn enough money through album sales, touring, endorsements, and other projects before receiving additional payments. According to the narrator, Whitney believes she could easily meet those expectations because of her incredible popularity and consistent success. The discussion uses this example to argue that major recording contracts can sometimes become both a tremendous opportunity and a heavy responsibility, especially for artists expected to remain at the top of the industry for many years.
It's one of those lifetime memories because you don't forget it. I heard about this young, stunning, beautiful singer who was appearing in her mother's act, and it was a club called Sweetwater, and I went down there, and she was singing backup with her brother for her mother, and then she stepped out to do 2 solos, and the hair on your arms and the tingle goes up your spine, and it was an amazing, of course, it's an indelible experience. It's an indelible memory.
At the height of her career, Whitney Houston was one of the biggest music stars in the world. She sold more than 200 million albums and singles and earned millions of dollars from concerts each year. According to the speaker, everything seemed to be going well until she signed a major recording contract with Arista Records. The discussion claims that shortly after the deal was completed, Whitney's record sales began to slow. The explanation reportedly given by the record label was that digital piracy had reduced music sales across the industry. At the same time, the narrator says Whitney's financial obligations to Arista and Sony continued to grow. According to the speaker, Clive Davis arranged financial assistance for Whitney during difficult periods. However, the discussion claims those funds actually came from Sony rather than from Clive personally. As a result, the narrator argues that Whitney's debt increased over time, making it harder for her to break free from her recording agreement. The speaker suggests that, by the time of her death, she still owed millions of dollars. The discussion also claims that because of the structure of her contract, her estate would have to generate enormous sales before receiving significant royalty payments. These claims remain disputed and have not been independently verified. The narrator then compares Whitney's story to that of Janis Joplin, arguing that both artists became more financially valuable after their deaths. The discussion repeats an unproven theory suggesting that famous musicians with well-known struggles with addiction may become the subject of conspiracy theories because official explanations are questioned by some people. The speaker also says Whitney had reportedly told Brandy that she wanted to slow down and rebuild her life before her death in 2012. The discussion then questions the official findings surrounding Whitney's death. Authorities concluded that she accidentally drowned after suffering the effects of heart disease and drug intoxication while in a bathtub at the Beverly Hilton Hotel. However, the speaker repeats claims made by some private investigators and commentators who have argued that certain injuries found on Whitney's body deserved closer examination. The narrator also references opinions from individuals who question details of the scene and claimed there was additional evidence that was never fully explored. These allegations have never been proven, and the official ruling on Whitney Houston's death has not changed. The speaker includes these claims to argue that many unanswered questions continue to fuel public debate and speculation years after her passing.
Hubel says he has surveillance video from the Beverly Hilton, where Houston was staying when she died in February, that supports his story. Contrary to the coroner's conclusion that her death was accidental, Hubel claims that Houston's body shows classic defense wounds consistent with someone fighting for her life.
The discussion also mentions that, a few days before her death, Whitney Houston reportedly interrupted an interview involving Clive Davis, Monica, and Brandy. According to the speaker, she handed Brandy a note and mentioned that she had almost drowned twice. The narrator presents this moment as another detail that has fueled ongoing speculation.
I felt it. Okay, 12 today is for you. 12 today. I have to. I'm just saying love it because I can't. I love it. It's my dad. It's my dad. I'll see you later. I'll see you later. Mom, come see her. Come say hi to. Come say hi to your godfather. Come say hi to your dad.
The speaker also questions Clive Davis's reaction after learning about Whitney Houston's death. According to the discussion, while many people at the event were shocked and emotional, Clive appeared calm and showed very little outward emotion. The narrator claims that he said the evening's event should continue and asked several people to pay tribute to Whitney during the gathering. The discussion also repeats reports that Whitney's body was not removed immediately because organizers wanted to avoid disrupting the party. These accounts have been widely discussed over the years, although different people have described the events in different ways.
Well, you're a very small minority, because if you knew Whitney better, you knew she was not there to perform.
Yeah.
This was her favorite night of the year. She came out every year. This party was so part of her.
So you're saying
and
that she
so
would
that the family, we spoke to representatives of Pat, who was a manager, and Gary, who was her brother.
Her body was still upstairs.
But we dedicated the evening. Whitney would have wanted this party to go on any more than the Grammys should stop.
I thought that was complete insanity. And knowing Whitney, I don't believe that she would have said, the show must go on. She was the kind of woman that would say, stop everything. I'm not going to be there. You know, I don't know what could motivate a person to have a party in a building where the person whose life he had influenced so enormously and whose life had been affected by her. So they were like, I don't understand how that party...
According to the speaker, Clive Davis's comments after Whitney Houston's death did not sound like those of someone who had known her since she was a teenager or had worked closely with her for decades. The narrator argues that Clive viewed Whitney primarily as a valuable business asset rather than as a close friend. The discussion claims that financial interests often came before personal relationships, although this reflects the speaker's opinion rather than established fact. The speaker also repeats unverified claims that Clive Davis knew more about the circumstances surrounding Whitney's death than he ever revealed publicly. According to the discussion, some people believe he may have expected that something serious was going to happen that night, which is why he insisted that his annual pre-Grammy party continue despite the tragic news. These allegations have never been proven, and no official investigation has concluded that Clive Davis had prior knowledge of Whitney's death. The narrator argues that Clive believed the public would accept the official explanation because Whitney had openly struggled with addiction for many years. However, the speaker says many people on the internet continue to question what happened and believe there are still unanswered questions about her final hours. The discussion also claims that the recording contract Whitney signed placed enormous pressure on her financially and professionally, suggesting it benefited the record label more than it benefited her. These interpretations remain matters of opinion and are widely disputed. The video concludes with the speaker expressing a very negative opinion of Clive Davis, describing him as someone who recognized extraordinary talent, but allegedly used artists for financial gain. The narrator even repeats serious conspiracy theories accusing him of involvement in the deaths of famous singers, although no credible evidence has established those claims. Finally, the audience is invited to share their own opinions in the comments and continue the discussion before being asked to like the video and subscribe to the channel.